How to avoid small talk. It's pretty common in the autistic community that many of us don't like what we tend to refer to as small talk, the seemingly banal back and forth about nothing in particular that doesn't seem to serve a purpose at all. I know if I spend too much time in small talk, I kind of feel like I've just wasted a whole bunch of time and I haven't really connected with the other person either. So in this video, I'll go through a worked example of how I avoid small talk, or perhaps more accurately, how I use small talk to get to the kind of social connections that I find actually interesting. Hi everyone, Paul Mikolev here from Autism from the Inside. I make weekly videos sharing the human side of autism, so make sure you hit subscribe to get the latest content. So you'll often hear me talk about autistic social skills or authentic social skills, and that distinction is trying to draw a line between doing what you think other people are expecting you to do because that's just what you do, and actually being authentic to yourself and using your social skills to connect with other people and to get what you need from a situation. So small talk is a really good example of that. Someone teaching traditional social skills will probably tell you that small talk is just what you do. It's how you initiate a conversation with someone when you don't know someone very well, when you're just trying to be polite. You make light conversation about the weather or how you're going today, or other kind of reasonably safe topics that don't tend to go very much below the surface. So when I hear people in the autistic community say, I don't like small talk, I think probably what they mean is I don't like just talking about endless surface level things without getting to the actual interesting part of the conversation where we share some real ideas or real feelings or real connection or something beyond this very, very surface level chit chat. So I'm curious if that describes you. Is that something that you find particularly frustrating? Or do you mean something completely different when you use the phrase small talk? In this video, I'd like to propose that a more useful and helpful way to think about this problem, it's not so much do I like small talk, do I not like small talk? It's more about how much small talk am I happy to tolerate in order to get to the real interesting connecting part of the conversation. And if I reframe the whole concept of small talk in this way, then of course I'm not going to like it because it's not an end in itself. It's just a means to slowly build a connection with someone so that we can eventually get to go a little bit deeper. And if the end that we're trying to achieve is a meaningful connection with another person, it also kind of explains in a very obvious way why if we stay at the small talk level for too long and there is no progression to the next level of a real meaningful connection, why that would be so inherently unsatisfying. So let me give you an example that happened to me recently. I'd just gone into a sauna at a gym. I had planned to spend the next 15 minutes there by myself when just after I got there, someone else came in and sat on the bench opposite me. Now, sometimes people are just in their own space and it's quite comfortable to share a space in silence, but I wasn't really getting that vibe this time. I kind of felt a little bit awkward and I kind of had to make the decision, do I want to start a conversation or do I want to just sit here awkwardly in silence for the next 15 minutes, not feeling very good? So this is where the key distinction with autistic social skills come in, because I wasn't asking myself, what should I do in this situation? What is the social convention in this situation that I should be following? I wasn't asking myself, what does the other person want me to do? You know, how can I be in a people-pleasing mode at the moment and do what someone else thinks is the right thing? I was asking myself, what would I like to do in this situation to make it pleasant and enjoyable for me? So essentially I had four options. Option number one, just sit awkwardly in silence, not saying anything for the next 15 minutes. Option number two, try to make the silence a little bit more comfortable so that we can do that a bit more easily. One way I could have done that is by turning around so we just weren't facing each other quite as directly. Option number three could have been just engage in 15 minutes of random surface level small talk. And option number four is to transform the situation into something that's actually going to be a pleasant, enjoyable experience for me, namely figuring out a way to have an interesting, meaningful conversation about something. And that's essentially what I did. I initiated a conversation that went fairly quickly from what you might consider boring surface level small talk to more and more and more interesting things until, in not very much time at all, suddenly we were talking about neuroscience and books that we've read and ideas about how we know things. In fact, the conversation ended up being so engaging that at the end of 15 minutes, we ended up pushing it to 20 minutes, and then we ended up having a brief discussion about what is the recommended time you should spend in a sauna, and then in the end, kind of like regrettably ending this really nice conversation with the acknowledgement that we've probably spent enough time in here and we should probably get out and take a break. So in that sense, how did I avoid small talk? Well, essentially, I avoided it by using it to my advantage to instigate a conversation that had the potential to become relatively interesting relatively quickly. So let me give you a sense of the progression of this conversation. We were at a sauna in a gym, so I started with something relevant to that. And so the first topic was about general health and fitness. That quickly progressed to fitness-related hobbies outside of that, and then other hobbies and works and interests. And by the time we got to the "this is what I like to do with my time, this is kind of what I'm interested in" section, we realized that we had a bit of a mutual connection around research and neuroscience. So suddenly, within a couple of minutes, a conversation that started with some really, really basic location occasion type stuff turned into a mutual connection about something we were both interested in. But we never would have found that if I didn't decide to initiate the conversation with something more socially appropriate, surface level stuff that would generally be considered more like small talk. So anyway, that's my example for today and my strategy for avoiding small talk, which is essentially to have a really clear plan in my mind that if I'm going to engage in small talk, then my clear goal is to transform this conversation into something interesting, into some kind of connection that we're both into. And by having that in mind, ironically, I can use small talk to avoid small talk, or at least avoid excessive small talk. So I'm really curious what your strategies are. Do you avoid small talk altogether? Do you just suck it up and do it all the time, even though you hate it? Do you have a strategy like mine or something similar where you're able to get a conversation going to the next level that you find interesting? I'm really keen to hear what works for you, so please leave a comment about that. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you again next week. Bye.